central banks or from their commercial banks to come and train in Kenya under the School of Monetary Studies under the central bank. We expand that training mandate to allow central bank to be able to do that. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, as I said, there's a very short bill, those 8 clauses. And Honorable Speaker, you see, I am now belaboring when I'm moving bills to insist on the number of clauses and what each clause is providing for, largely, to avoid the issues you saw with the finance bill. People claiming there is a clause 169, others claiming that land is being moved from freehold to leasehold. And you can imagine, including people like the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka was misled to believe. But you know, if the former president, Vice President, depended on some of these people you saw here to read the finance bill for him, you would understand why the former Vice President was misled. Because I want to believe he was misled. But unfortunately, the people misleading him are people who ought to know better. That's why I'm belaboring in every bill that I'm moving now to insist the number of clauses so that they don't go and say now the central bank amendment bill has clause 27 that is purporting to do this and this and this and this, or shift this bank from here to here. Propaganda, Honorable Speaker. But it is the world we live in, the world of fake news, a world of propaganda, a world of leaders who tell outright lies, all in pursuit of political expediency and matters, cheap politics and cheap political scores, and not educating the public, Honorable Speaker. And that's why I'm often belaboring the point that as leaders in this country, we must use the floor of this House. You know, we are only 349 Kenyans who have been favored or who are privileged to come and sit in this House, while the rest of millions of Kenyans listen to us, watch us, and want to hear what we are giving back to them. Therefore, when as leaders we use the opportunity that we have been given by or granted by God and the people of Kenya to tell outright untruths, misinform, disinform, propagate propaganda on the floor of Parliament, I usually don't mind when people do it out there in rallies or in funerals. Like I saw them saying about rental income tax in a funeral somewhere. You know, when I saw a former member of Parliament for Madeira speak about rental income tax in a funeral, I forgave him because I said, it's okay, you can say whatever you want to say. Probably you are speaking to the dead in the funeral, not the living, because the living also can read and see. Or when Kalonzo Musyoka talks about things that don't exist in the bill, in a political rally, I forgive him because he might have been misinformed by the leaders you saw here from his party who are speaking about issues that don't exist in the bill. But from the floor of this House, Honorable Speaker, we must remain honest and truthful. We can only, that is why our standing orders speak to the issue of statement of fact, understanding order, I think, 91, and also relevance. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, maybe during the finance bill, we had to keep interjecting people to remain relevant and be truthful and express themselves only on statements of fact. Because people wanted to use this floor to propagate lies and propaganda for the audience out there. So that when they go to their rallies and to funerals, they now feel like they're heroes because they propagated lies. But this bill, Honorable Speaker, we are lucky, is only 8 clauses. So even those who could not read, this one now at least they can read. You can even read it when you are seated here. It is not 57 clauses like the finance bill or the 75 clauses the plant protection bill. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and I want to request the very serious legislator in the name of Irene Nyakerario Mayaka to second. Because Irene Nyakerario Mayaka takes time to read. And, you know, Honorable Speaker, allow me to just pay a bit of accolades to Honorable Irene Mayaka because she's a first-time member of Parliament and now a chair of a committee. because her party, ODM, recognized that she was a serious legislator who deserves even to chair a committee, and she's doing exemplary well as a chair of a committee. I think the next order of business after this one, the next order but one, is for her committee. Therefore, I want to invite her to second this motion.
Honorable Irene Mayaka to second.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Majority Leader, for the opportunity to second this motion and for the accolades as well. We learn every day from the likes of you. Honorable Speaker, as has been said by the Honorable Majority Leader, the Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Bill 2026 is a very short piece of legislation, but also extremely important. Important, Honorable Speaker, in the sense that it gives clarity in terms of distinguishing routine monetary policy operations from emergency liquidity assistance and providing for periods of financial distress. And also, Honorable Speaker, there's a clear provision in this particular amendment on the issue relating to approval of the Deputy Governor, which is now in line with the process of approval for Governor of the Central Bank, that now specifically only allows the National Assembly to be the one that does this particular process, so that it is in line with the existing approval framework that is provided for. Honorable Speaker, there's also a very important clause, which is clause number 7, that seeks to speak about having the Deposit Protection Fund Board, which is now a defunct board, no longer doing the work that it was previously doing, and now giving the same obligation to the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation. Honorable Speaker, the other very important clause is clause 8 on training, on prescribed capacity building and training through regulations for purposes of implementing the Act. And Honorable Speaker, also this particular clause, if you also look at clause number 3, that also speaks about providing training and capacity building for its staff, the public, government institutions, and persons from other jurisdictions. Very important aspect there, Honorable Speaker, is for the public, because it's very important for the public to understand the distinction and the different roles that the central bank plays from the commercial banks. Because in most cases, you'll find that people do not understand the roles that this particular different financial institutions play. One of which, Honorable Speaker, is the fact that central bank no longer provides accounts for individuals to be able to have treasury bills and bonds through central bank, that you can now actually have them through commercial banks. So very important for the public to understand that you do not need to go to the central bank for this, but you can go to the commercial banks. So Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks and highlighting the specifics that are very important for us to understand why this amendment was necessary, I support and I second. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose the question. The Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 27 of 2026, be now read a second time. The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Let me also say a few things about relating to this bill, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill is amending the Central Bank's existing Act of Parliament, and as the Leader of Majority has said, it has only 8 clauses, and these amendments are quite important for the country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we all know very well that Kenya has become a financial hub in this region. And if we were to rate countries on the basis of the advancement in financial issues, Kenya would quite be high there. And that's why these amendments are actually aligned to make sure that we are also up to speed in terms of where we are. The work of the Central Bank, Honorable Speaker, is normally supervisory, regulatory, and then it's always the last lender. And I think it's on the basis of the fact that it's the last lender that the issue of lending to commercial banks on the basis of as an emergency comes up. Because it is the duty of the central bank to ensure that we have a stable and predictable financial system. So in a situation where banks have an opportunity to, in case they get into emergencies, to borrow from the central bank, Honorable Speaker, and up to a period of 12 months, these are very progressive amendment. Because then we've seen banks going under, Honorable Speaker. But with this arrangement, it will be very difficult because now banks can fall back to the central bank, and the central bank will be able to build them out in terms of lending. And that will ensure that then we have no problem with our financial institutions. On the issue of approval for the DG, Honorable Speaker, where we are saying we want to restrict this strictly to the National Assembly, I think it makes a lot of sense because there's nothing devolved to the central bank. Central bank is the bank for the country, and really there's no devolution in it. So on those bases, I think really the idea of pushing that to the Senate, if you look at the Constitution, it says the Senate was actually created for purposes of taking care of the interests of the counties. So this is also aligned, and I think it will make it easier for the DG to be approved in good time when that time comes, and then they can serve the country. The issue of the Kenya Depository Insurance Corporation, where we're also saying the central bank will also be able to lend. Actually, part of our financial ecosystem, Honorable Speaker, is the insurance sector is part of that financial ecosystem. And it's just like an extension of the commercial banks. So we are saying, because our insurance companies also take care of our interests, and more so when it comes to securing our future in terms of life policies and all that, then the bank should also be there to build them out when there is need. Another progressive amendment, which I think we should support, Honorable Speaker.